Hello, Internet. I'm Matt.
And I'm Monster Punter.
And this is a special episode of Parallax Scrolling, podcast where we give you our perspective on video games. And that's kind of all we're doing this episode, isn't it?
No news.
No news.
No news.
Just a special episode of us chit-chatting. So, I think we should just get into it because, you know, we're pretty much recording at the same time as we're recording other episodes. So it doesn't matter. You know, like, you want to know how our weeks have been? Watch the other ones.
Yeah, pretty much.
But do take this time if you are listening to this one. Please like, comment, subscribe. And, you know, make your little brother account. Sign him up. Subscribe.
Share.
Make your little sister an account. Subscribe. You know, make your dog an account. Subscribe. Yeah.
I think the dog would appreciate that.
I think the dog would appreciate it.
Cats, no. Dog,
yeah,
yes.
Yeah. Make one for the cat. And don't do anything with it because that's what would be happening anyways. Anyhow. We're doing another top list. Not a top 10 though, because we're not really doing 10. It's just kind of the ones we could currently think of.
Yeah, so this list is just all the games on PS2 that surprised us. Ones that...
Okay, let's clarify. This is not all the games on the PS2 that surprised us.
Okay.
That's kind of an impossible episode to do. Well, we would be here for weeks.
Well, my definition of what's surprising is probably a bit more strict than yours, but either way...
this is an episode about some of the PS2 games that have surprised us in a good way.
Yes.
And since there's such a massive library, it's really hard to narrow this down. So it was just kind of going off of memory and, not gonna lie, I looked at the Wikipedia list of PS2 games and I'm like, which is daunting, by the way.
Think about that. You know, I think the last PS2 was sold in 2012.
I think so.
2012. 12 years that system was on the market. And I think they've sold, oh man, I'd have to
It's
look
one
it
of the
up.
highest grossing, if not the highest grossing.
Hold on a second. We can clickety-clack and figure it out right now.
As he types.
Yeah. 155 million, according to Hacker Noon. Well, Wikipedia, because Wikipedia is always the authority. And they say 155 as well. Interestingly enough, the Nintendo...
Wow, we tried to throw Wikipedia under the bus and they ended up being accurate. Wow.
Oh, it's the same as the other.
Look at that, man.
Accurate, maybe. That's still debatable. I mean, come on. It was just happened to be the same number as the other one.
Oh, just the convenience. Anyhow. Yeah, so we're doing PS2 games. And we're doing PS2 games that surprise us in a good way. We'll probably do another episode down the road about PS2 games that surprise us in a bad way. And boy, is that a list.
Oh.
I mean, here's the thing you got to think about. For every game system that has a massive library, it has a massive amount of good games and a massive amount of bad games.
Yeah.
And that's just the truth of it. So, how do you want to do this? Should we just each give one?
Sure.
And talk about it?
Yeah,
okay.
Go for it.
Okay. Well, like I say, you want rock, paper, scissors, shoot?
No, go for it.
Yeah, no, I think we should.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Do it.
No.
Do it. 1, 2, 3, shoot. I won. You go.
Okay, fine. Whatever. Jeez. Okay.
Anyways,
so,
yeah.
My first game here is one that it's not like the genre hadn't been represented before. There was games on the PlayStation 1.
Mm-hmm.
But I wasn't really into extreme sports or anything like that. I didn't even really care. So I wasn't even interested. I didn't get a PS2 right away when it came out. But I had a friend who happened to have one right away, and it was one of the launch games. SSX turned out to be a fantastic game.
It did. SSX was a great game, and it's a shame that series did not take off. Like, you know how games like Riders Republic, which are supposed to be really good and crazy, but there's something magical about SSX.
Yeah, I played the hell out of that game. That game was great. Don't regret doing it whatsoever.
Right.
And the tricks and everything, I got through all the courses. I wonder if I still have my save file. I'd have to go take a look, but...
I believe one of the last times we went to an old retro video game store, I actually picked up a copy of SSX.
Oh, really?
I think I still have mine.
Nice.
I bought it alongside Robotech Battlecry, which is not on this list because it was not surprising. I enjoyed the heck out of that game.
I can't find my Xbox version of that game.
Oh, gosh.
I'm a little sad, to be honest with you. But
Yeah.
SSX, great game. Surprised me because I didn't expect a snowboarding game to capture me like it did. Deserving to be on my list.
Well, oddly enough, I'm going to counter, not counter, but I'm going to add on to your launch game with my launch game, Orphan. Orphan was, I did not know what to expect with that game when I first picked it up. In fact, the very first time I picked it up, I was confused and I didn't have a whole lot of fun with it. Flat out honest. It wasn't until I went back to it to actually really give it a shot. Because I rented this one from those things called video stores long time ago, before the Netflix.
You mean the late fee collecting machines?
Yes, yeah.
That's what they really were.
Yeah. Yeah, the library of video games that cost you money every time you didn't turn it back in time.
Yep.
But no, I picked it up again. I started playing it, and I went further. And once I finally understood the game mechanics, for me, it was one of those. Once I understood the game mechanics, and once I went further, the story gripped me, the gameplay gripped me. I had a blast with that game. And it actually kind of got me into that genre, I think, of just because I was always an RPG kid. I was never really like with Nintendo, I was a platform kid. And I started getting into RPGs. But with the Super Nintendo, I was mostly an RPG kid. And then went to the PlayStation and still stayed an RPG kid for the most part. It wasn't the PS2 era, until the PS2 era, that I started getting into other types of games. And this one did a really good job of it. I really enjoyed Orphan. And the fact that I found out it was based off an anime.
Yes,
I was like, oh, I should probably try and find this anime. I've never seen it.
I don't remember much about Orphan. I just remember not liking it. That's my memories of that game, is just the fact that I didn't like it.
Yeah.
But one that I did like, and it's a well-known series now, but it originally debuted on the PlayStation 2, Devil May Cry.
Yeah.
So I was managing GameStop at the time. And there was a point in time where GameStop treated their managers well.
Shots fired.
For sure. Because eventually they stopped letting us get pre-release copies of games. Like, they would actually, and I kid you not, what I'm about to say is true. We would get used copies of brand new games on the day of release because they were intended to be for managers from the companies to try out and promote their game. But GameStop took them, gutted the case and everything, and sold them as loose games instead to make a profit. They stole from the managers is what they really did.
Yeah.
But not in the case with Devil May Cry. I had that game beat a week before it came out.
Yep. I actually remember watching you play it and actually giving it a little bit of a shot myself.
Yes.
That game, oh man, I think the furthest I was able to get with the very first game at the time before it even released was the Reapers, the introduction of the Reapers with the giant scissors.
Yeah.
I got that far and I was like, this is what this game's gonna be like. I wasn't really turned on to it, but
oh man, like the first time I knocked an enemy in the air and just shot him to death while in midair, that I was all about that. And to this day, I've bought every single one that's come out.
Yep. Still to be 5, but I have it.
I have not beaten 5 myself, but I do own it.
It's really funny because with 5 V, I don't know. I fully don't know V's story yet. I'm still not that far in. But he's giving me the carpal tunnel problems that the original Devil May Cry gave me because I gotta hit all the combos. And, yeah.
Yeah, and it's definitely a great game, great series. Made its debut on PS2, and good memories linked to that. Maybe I'll tell my Devil May Cry story at GameStop at some point. Needless to say, I hope I didn't traumatize anybody.
Wow.
Needless to say, did I say needless to say before that?
Yep.
That was really weird.
It was needless for you to say needless to say.
Now I need to say it.
No.
Yeah.
No, it's still not. Still needless.
Well, you know what you need to say is your next game.
Oh, I was going to. My next game is also another launch game. And again, it had the same scenario with me as Orphan did, where I initially played it, was like, I don't understand this game. I'm really frustrated. I'm going to put it down for a bit. And then when I went back to play it again, and I actually really put in the effort, I loved this game. And that's Evergrace.
Yep, I remember that game too.
Oh, man. Once you get past the first area for both characters, and you do have to play both characters. That was my initial error, is I thought I only had to pick one of the two main characters and play through. You have to play both of them. And that was such a nice thing, because you're getting two different sides of the story as it builds up together. And it was so good. And it was such an enjoyable game for me, especially when I started learning how to do the equipment and the movement. And I would even say Evergrace helped me get into games like Dark Souls.
Interesting.
Because it's along the same vein, almost.
My memories of that game, I just remember not liking it.
And you know
Very much like Orphan.
Like I said, initially, I was in the same boat. Like, I didn't even get to the first boss. I got to the first hard enemy, and I was like, don't play this anymore.
So with my PS2, I bought it off my cousin. And it wasn't like terribly long after launch. I want to say it was like a month or so. But it was a while till I really had any PS2 games. I just remember not liking the launch games outside like SSX for a while. And obviously the PS2, the juggernaut that it was going to become.
Nobody knew.
Yeah. I played my Dreamcast more at that particular point in time.
Which was still fantastic.
Oh, man, the Dreamcast.
But that's another episode.
Man, do I love my Dreamcast.
Yeah.
But for me, one that surprised me too, and this is like off the wall game, we've mentioned it before, but Get to Roo Man.
That one's on my list because you're right. It's such a fantastic game.
I'm not really one for these rhythm games at all.
Right, exactly. Neither am I.
But that game was fantastic.
Oh, absolutely. And when you first look at it, like, I'll be honest, I never played Parappa the Rappa. It looked terrible. I was completely uninterested, and it was a rhythm game, so it turned me off. When I saw Get to Roo Man, I was like, this is like Parappa the Rapper. And then we actually played it. And I was like, this is not like Parappa the Rapper, and I need to play this all the way through.
Yes. It is actually a fantastic game. A fantastic game.
It is, absolutely. Yeah, it's definitely a surprise.
Great songs, too.
Absolutely. And if you are doing yourself a disservice if you have access to that game and not playing it.
An emulator, anything. Just give it a try.
Give it a shot.
Yeah.
Definitely give it a shot.
Yeah.
Speaking of a game that's on both our lists, I'm gonna give you guys another game I know is on both our lists.
Oh?
Shall I just sing it to you?
Oh gosh.
La 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 la.
You can stop now. You can stop.
Dude, Katamari Damacy, however you want to say it. Who thought rolling a ball would be fun? First off, the game definitely gave me weird vibes at first. So I was like, okay, there's a guy flying around and he has a massive codpiece. I'm a little uncomfortable with this guy. and then you realize what the start of the story is. The start of the story is just, so this guy with massive codpiece gets drunk and destroys the universe practically. And so he leaves it up to his kid, who's the size of a speck, to rebuild the universe. And it's, how did this game get so good? How did this game get so good?
I think because of how absurd it is.
Yeah, I think you're right. I absolutely do.
And
I absolutely think you're right.
The fact that you're like rolling Godzilla eventually into your ball.
Yeah, you start off at the one thing they don't do is they don't start you at the microscopic level.
True.
But they do start you at like the smallest size possible of an object. And And that's the first level, and then it ends with you pretty much rolling up all of Japan, practically, into a ball and sending it into space. And it's just who thinks of these things? They're geniuses.
LSD fueled thought sessions. That's what comes up with them.
Oh yeah, probably.
Here's one that honestly, it surprised me how much I liked it.
Mm-hmm.
The art is fantastic. That's what kind of drew me in just from the get-go.
Yeah.
And then the gameplay is really good, and the way there's 5 different people you play as, and the way their stories interact and how it all comes together is really interesting. And then depending on how you play the ending, you can get different endings.
I know which one you're talking about now. Okay,
so,
go ahead.
And that's Odin Sphere.
Absolutely.
That's a fantastic game. And Odin Sphere Leifthur, I can't remember
Life Throws or something. Yeah, it's
something,
German.
Yeah, they remade it for PS4, and I think it's on Switch too, or in PC. I'm pretty sure it's on PC.
It might be on PC.
Anyway, if you give that game a try, I think you'll find that it's really enjoyable.
Yeah, that was definitely a game I looked at it and I was like, this looks cool. I don't know what it is. I should really give it a shot. And I think that's one of the few games where I was like, oh, this looks cool. I'll give it a shot. And it actually blew me away. Like, it was surprising how much more I enjoyed that game versus what I was expecting.
What they were doing with 2D graphics in that game was just not done in other games, and it was really fluid.
Vanillaware's amazing.
Yeah, Vanillaware.
What was the other game they made? They made another game on the PS2.
It was a strategy game.
It wasn't. I don't think it was strategy. It was like tower defense or something. It was like something about a witch at a school or something.
Yeah, something like that.
I can't remember the name of it. That game is fantastic too.
Yeah.
If I could remember the name, I'd probably put it on the list too. Because it was. I think that was the era where I learned Vanillaware was such an amazing company.
Yep.
And that they were worthy of being like with the AAAs.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
By the way, just to plug one of their other games right now, play 13 Sentinels. Awesome game.
All right. So we talked about Gedaru Man. We talked about Katamari Damacy. I've got really practically 3 more games.
Okay.
This one is coming.
Okay.
Because this game was worth beating just for the music video at the end of the game.
What game was that?
God Hand.
Oh gosh, I never got to play that one.
Dude,
I've watched people play it.
You're going to borrow my copy. I'm going to fid it because I have it put away somewhere. And you're going to play it. You're going to beat it just so you can watch the music video.
Everybody that has played God Hand loves it.
Take the absolute absurdity of life, just anything in life in general. Take the absolute absurdity, put it into a brawler. The story is so convoluted that it becomes good because you're just like, what the heck? The gameplay. This is like one of the first brawlers that's 3D. And like you actually move the character in 3D to get to the people you're fighting in. So let me just tell you, here's some examples of how absurd the game is. Ready? You fight the Power Rangers, but they're all dwarves. You fight a gorilla on a ball. One of your special finishing moves when you're fighting the female opponents, because you are a guy, is you bend them over your knee and spank them till they get launched into orbit. This game is fantastic. And it's so good. And it is an absolute shame that Clover Studios is shut down because they were part of Capcom, and Capcom could have kept God Hand going. There should have been sequels. There should have been more. But unfortunately, there's not. And it's a crime against humanity.
Well, speaking of games that don't have any more sequels.
Yeah.
This one here, maybe not super as surprisingly good as the other games on this list, but to take the Resident Evil type of gameplay and port it into something other than Resident Evil and still have it be good, I thought it was surprising enough. That's Onimusha.
Honestly, I was expecting Onimusha to be good because it was from the people of Resident Evil.
Yeah,
you know,
still.
but still, no, I get it, and I think what was, at least for me, it was surprising how different it, how similar but how different it was from the Resident Evil games.
I didn't expect it to be good because it wasn't Resident Evil, and so I gave it a try. It ends up being a really good game. And I didn't play through the whole trilogy. I played through 1 and 2, and I don't know what happened. I fell off for 3.
Well, 3's the one with what's his face, the French actor. Like it's time travel.
Maybe that's
yeah.
I don't remember.
Well, and then there's Onimusha 4, which pretty much killed the series because not the main character, and it's completely different.
Yeah, but either way, Onimusha was surprisingly good to me.
Onimusha 4 would be like if Capcom also said, hey, we're going to have Mega Man in a tennis game. Not Mega Man Soccer, because that was amazing. This was literally like, no, we're just going to give Mega Man a tennis racket. It's still Mega Man. So we can put the name on, but that's it. It's a tennis game. Like, it's totally not the same. Not the same feel, not the same anything. So it was a disappointment. All right. Time for 2 games. One you might know, one you definitely don't know.
Okay.
Actually didn't start the series, as part of the series, and I ended up continuing to play this with people on the Saturn, and I think I have one of the newest PC versions on my computer. Fire Pro Wrestling.
Oh, you know what? That doesn't surprise me that you have it on there.
Okay, but it surprised me when I first started playing those games. I didn't think I was going to have fun. I'm not a sports game person. Like, I enjoy NFL Blitz because it's absurd. But Fire Pro Wrestling is literally a pro wrestling game where you make professional wrestlers, but you actually make them, you dress them, you make their powers, their moves, everything. I got so into that. A friend of mine gave me a copy a long time ago, and that I got to play with on my own. Are you ready for some of the characters I made? Because I got to make my own characters.
Oh God!
He was a real big wrestling guy, so he went in and he would get the stats and how to make all these professional wrestlers from around the world. So when we would play, it'd be on wrestling night, because at that time I was into professional wrestling because it was more about going to the parties and stuff with my friends. We would go, we'd play some of this, watch the wrestling match, and play some more of this, and go. And it was a great time. So he was playing all professional wrestlers. I, however, when I got my own personal copy, decided I needed to make Santa Claus.
Of course.
I made an elf. And the best part was Santa Claus was a power type. So he was like the guy who like power bombed and like Andre the Giant kind of person. And then the elf was a luchador. He would like walk the rope and flip over people because he was so small. And the one that probably amazed me the most, I fully replicated him, put him in, and he was disgusting how powerful he was. I made the Fonz.
Oh, God.
From Happy Days.
Oh, my God.
He actually won matches because he would break people's limbs.
I suppose that would do it.
Yeah, it was just, I was just like, he's a brawler type, so I made a brawler type with him. And he would punch, arms broken. Like, oh, okay, well, this is... So, yes, the Fire Pro Wrestling series started with my love for it on PS2.
Gotcha. Well, I guess my love for this series started here on the PS2 as well. And it wasn't one that I expected to even like. I thought it was really kind of weird and creeped me out to a certain degree when your characters would hold guns to their heads and shoot them.
Yep.
But of course they weren't real guns. But they were devices to activate your personas. That's Persona 3.
Yeah, I would say, and that's actually the first one where they do that.
Yeah.
1 and 2 are different.
Yeah. Now, yeah, that's the only one where they do that. That's the only one where they actually use something to use their persona, now that I think about it, of the ones I've played.
Well, I would say, 1 does, but it doesn't involve them like looking like they're killing themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Persona 3, I've said it in other podcasts already. Really great game. Great story. Definitely worth playing through. Don't think I need to go into much detail other than that. If you like,
you really like it, and it's definitely recommended for you. Definitely. I get it.
Yeah,
I get you. Well, this other one on my list. So I told you I'm not a big sports game person.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm also not a big game type person. I'm not a big racing game person. I don't really like most racing games.
Okay.
That was until Burnout Revenge.
Yeah.
Oh.
I have Burnout. I have Burnout on that's my last one too, believe it or not.
Burnout. So Burnout Revenge, or is it Burnout 3? One of the Burnouts. I think it may have been Burnout 3 now. I'll amend that. The whole thing about Burnout 3 was the beginning of the revenge system, where you could hey, I'm running this race. Hey, you hit me into the wall. I don't like you. Detonate bomb. Boom. And you blow them up. And the racing was fun, but the thing that also got me was the soundtrack. This game introduced me to bands like Atreyu and not Rage Against the Machine. Rise Against. An R name was on my list, or on my lips there. But yeah, Atreyu, Rise Against. I started loving these bands. I was like, these songs are so good. And the game is just amazing. I had so much fun with it. And I almost fully completed it, I think, before I had to return it. And then, of course, Burnout Revenge came out, and I was like, it's more of the revenge system? I'm in. Honestly, because that's always what it was for me, is playing those racing games. I always hated the fact to be like, oh, this person hit me. They get to keep going, having no problems whatsoever. Meanwhile, I get put back 15 places in a 12-place race. It's like, I hate that. But with the revenge system in place, I was like, yeah, you might put me out of the commission for a couple seconds, but I'm going to take you with me. And so it made the races a little more fair.
I like the games for a different reason. I just like the crash mode.
Well, that's what Revenge technically was, yeah.
Oh, no, the Revenge was, you were doing it during the races. They had a separate, the biggest wreck you can.
Yes, okay, yeah, you're absolutely correct. And those were fantastic, too.
Yeah.
Take this bus, launch it off a cliff at a state park. I remember that one. It's just okay, how am I going to get this bus to get the most points in this one spot? Yeah.
It was, great games.
Yes.
Great games.
And here's the thing. There's so many more games I could put on this list as to what surprised me. But yeah. I just, at the moment, A, I can't think of them. And B, I don't have the time to go through the list of games. Yep. There's just too many.
So, folks, I think that wraps up our list of surprising games.
But before we go, we do want you to put down in the comments, or wherever we're going to start talking about stuff more, what are your games that surprised you most on the PS2? Give us your list. When you guys gave us lists for the JRPGs, that was a great list. Those were good things. Give us more. And, just get involved in our comments. Converse with each other, because we're currently stuck talking to ourselves, and it's it's wearing thin, folks. It's just wearing thin. But no, right. We want to be involved with your conversations, and we want you to be involved with our conversations. So please comment down below. Give us your games that surprised you. And you know what? You can go deeper than what we did, because you have the time to put it in the comments. So, and maybe we'll do another list or something like that in the future.
Oh, we will be doing more lists.
Well, indeed. No, but I mean of surprising games from the PS2 or whatever. So,
or just a different system in general.
Well, that's an entirely different bird. But for now, we're going to get going. Thank you guys so much for listening. We do appreciate you guys so much. Have yourselves a fantastic day, and we'll see you in the next one.
Take care.
Later.